everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Nick and Knarf, two brothers in Tucson, bringing you music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, both ways. And today we're going to be doing an artist I know very little about. But before we get started, Frank's been to some pretty great concerts lately, and I want him to tell you about it.
Absolutely. God, just the other night, Wednesday, we're recording here on Friday. Wednesday night, I went to Phoenix with my good friends, dear friends, Brian and Jane. Love you guys. And who we go to most concerts with. We went to Phoenix and saw Peter Frampton. What an incredible show. 2.5 hours. He's got a cane like Nick. Poor guy, he had to walk out onto the stage with a cane because he's got this disability that has caused problem. But doesn't stop him from playing. He sat in a chair all night long, 2.5 hours, wailed on the guitar, his voice sounds as pristine as it did. I said to my friends, it's 1975 all over again. And it was great. It was a 2.5 hour show. Then about a week and a half ago, here in Tucson, we went to see an up-and-coming superstar of rock music, progressive guitar, just a remarkable Italian guitarist named Matteo Mancuso. If you ever get a chance to see him, you got to see him.
Look up some of his videos.
Look up his videos on YouTube. And he even did an interview with Rick Beato, so check that out. And then on June 1st, we went to Phoenix and we saw the great Sting. What a performance that was. He had another two-man combo behind him. They did almost all the great Police stuff and a lot of his solo work, beautiful arrangements. Sting has still got top of the line as a performer and a voice.
So when I always ask you at the end of our videos, hey, have you ever seen him in concert? At least this guy can say, yeah, I recently saw him in concert. How many concerts you been to this year?
Oh, this year we've been to about 10, I think. We got more coming, too. We got to do the Gin Blossoms in August, and then we're going to go see Robin Trower is coming to Tucson in October. We're going to go see him. So just some wonderful shows. I'm really lucky. I'm crossing off my bucket list on seeing all the great stars I missed in the 70s and 80s, and we're seeing a bunch of them. So anyhow, that was me, but let's get to today's music.
Yeah.
What's the artist, Nick? Did you mention his
name?
Bob Welch. Bob Welch,
the pitcher for the Dodgers, who then went to the Yankees, and
not that Bob Welch.
Okay,
this is Robert Lawrence Welch Jr., who was born in Hollywood in 1945.
And a one, and a two.
Anyway, he was one of the major forces in the evolution of the band Fleetwood Mac. He really was the transition part of the whole growth of Fleetwood Mac from the time they were formed early as an old English blues, an R&B and rock blues band, and transitioning into the band everybody knows from the mid-70s on with Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks and Christine McVie, even though Christine McVie was part of his time with Fleetwood Mac. So he made 5 albums with Fleetwood Mac from 1971 to 1974.
What did he do after that?
And then he had a solo career. And he had a 1977 debut album called French Kiss, which was a huge hit. It was a platinum album. And the 2 songs we're playing are both from this great debut album.
You know, that's funny. I went to the Ventura County Fair, and there was a booth that said French Kiss, and I thought it was for a French kiss, but I ended up having to buy the album. So there you go.
I didn't know that. So that's a great story. But anyway, he had a lot of success, but then afterwards his career kind of tapered off. He kept performing for a long time, but he had a number of very serious issues, personal life. He had drug issues with cocaine and heroin, and tragically, he died in 2012. He had an operation on his spine, which was really destroying his ability to move and walk.
Wow.
And the doctors afterwards said that the operation was not successful in repairing any, and he would never really get any better. And 3 months later, at the age of 66, he committed suicide. So he shot himself. How tragic was that? A really underappreciated kind of guy in the background who was in important places and had high highs and had some terrible low lows. But he had a really accomplished career. He had 10 solo albums, 4 live and compilation, 15 singles. He did 5 albums with Fleetwood Mac and 3 with other bands.
What's his greatest single?
Well, greatest single is Sentimental Lady, which is the one we're going to play. The thing is, I'm going to play the version from the Fleetwood Mac album Bare Trees, which came out in 1970. 1972, which is where the song debuted, even though he did a remake of the song for this album, French Kiss. So we're going to get into two terrific songs by the great Bob Welch, who was really one of the unsung warriors of rock, and we wanted to showcase him today.
And he really did have a good curveball. I'm telling you, he really did.
Yeah, and the first song we're playing is his other big hit, Ebony Eyes, which was a real big single for him, both from this album. But before we start, I'd like to please invite you to subscribe, like, and share if you have not. And if you like what you hear, be sure to hit that like button. And all our subscribers, we really want to thank you so much for everything.
Please.
So let's get into our tribute to Bob Welch. First, we're going to go to the single that was one of his big ones off the album. I'm going to save Sentimental Lady for the second one because I love that song and I think we should go on it. But here it is, his hit single from 1977. This is Ebony Eyes and Bob Welch.
different, isn't it? Ebony Eyes, Ebony Eyes. Your eyes got me dreaming, your eyes got me blind, your eyes got me hoping that I'll be holding you close tonight. Your eyes got me dreaming, your eyes got me blind, your eyes got me hoping that I'll be holding you close tonight. Your eyes got me dreaming.
I've got so much I want to say about this.
All right.
Okay, first of all, if you don't think that sounds like Steve Miller, you're out of your mind.
First thing I said when I heard it again, Nick,
when that
it
song
sounds like
comes out on the
Steve
radio,
Miller.
I always at first say it's Steve Miller, then I realize it's Bob Welch. Number one. Number two.
Absolutely.
Wasn't this so well produced? You could hear every instrument perfectly. So good. The transition was so funky. I was not expecting. I'd forgotten about that little middle part in there that just was so tasty. How high did this reach?
This song reached number 12 on the charts.
I believe it. I bet it.
Number 12.
It flirted at some point with coming close to in the top five because it's got such a good beat, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, but you're right. Steve Miller.
Oh,
when
my
I heard
gosh.
the beginning, I was thinking it's a Steve Miller song.
Clones, they could be clones.
Absolutely. But you're right. The production is nice. Very subtle things introduced.
You heard the violin, you heard the keyboard.
You're right. That organ, that one player where it goes,
one note,
just
one
for like
note.
for one bar, I think it was all it was in for.
Yes.
And then it would build up to that crescendo, and then that Ebony Eyes.
And
it's kind of a nice outtake, you
so
know?
well. The background instruments they brought in just filled in perfectly.
He was really a talented songwriter. He wrote a number of songs for Fleetwood Mac across those 5 albums on Bare Trees,
Did he write
Future
songs
Games.
for other artists?
No, he performed with other artists, but he performed mostly his own material. And then he had these solo albums. Like I said,
forgot how good that
10
song
solo
was.
albums.
You know, I really did enjoy it. I mean, you could see if you heard it about 50 times, you'd think it's so bubblegum. You go a little crazy. But when you hear it in the context that, this guy wrote this song and he was a major songwriter for a great group like Fleetwood Mac, you realize that was probably a fun song for him to write.
Absolutely. It was a big hit, too. I remember it being played all the time.
It's funny. I bought my sunglasses at that store, Ebony Eyes. And, they're still working today.
Isn't that what Dickens named Ebony Eyes or Scrooge after? Anyway, we sure hope you enjoyed Bob Welch's terrific Ebony Eyes song. What a great hit. But this next one, for me and for all of us, anyone who knows Bob Welch knows this is his signature song. He played it with Fleetwood Mac on the album Bare Trees from '72. This song, when he remade it on this album, French Kiss, Christine McVie and Lindsey Buckingham and some of those guys from Fleetwood Mac helped him re-record it. But I like it's a shorter version on the album. I like this a little bit longer version, a little more album-oriented version from the album Bare Trees. It is so beautiful, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. If you haven't heard it in a while, you're going to love remembering it.
And you said this was 72.
1972, okay. Fleetwood Mac song written by and sung by Bob Welch. Here it is, Sentimental Lady. Gorgeous. Love this part here, boy, the chorus.
And all of the things that I said that I wanted come rushing by in my head when I'm with you. 14 joys and a will to be married. All of the things that they say are very sentimental, gentle wind.
Wow, it is quite different.
You can hear Christine McVie in the background.
Gentle one. Sentimental, gentle wind. Through my life again, sentimental lady, gentle one. Now you are here today, but easily you might just go away, because we live in a time when paintings have no color, words don't rhyme. And that's why I've traveled far, 'cause I come so together where you are. Yeah, and all of the things that I said that I wanted come rushing by in my head when I'm with you. 14 joys and a will to be married. All of the things that they say are very sentimental, gentle wind blowing through my life again. Sentimental lady, gentle one. Sentimental, gentle wind blowing through my life again. Sentimental lady, gentle one.
Like the lead here.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that nice?
Is that a steel guitar?
It's some kind of guitar, I think, with an effect on it.
But not a steel.
Wow. Not sure. Maybe it's a keyboard. I'm like,
Maybe it is.
You are here and warm, but I could look away and you'd be gone. 'Cause we live in a time when meaning falls in splinters from our lives. And that's why I've traveled far, 'cause I come so together where you are. Yes, and all of the things that I said that I wanted come rushing by in my head when I'm with you. 14 joys and a will to be merry. All of the things that they say are buried. Sentimental, gentle wind blowing through my life again. Sentimental lady, gentle one. Sentimental, gentle wind blowing through my life again. Sentimental lady, gentle one. Sentimental, gentle wind blowing through my life again. Sentimental lady, gentle one. Well, sentimental, gentle wind blowing through my life again. Sentimental lady, gentle one.
Nikki, go ahead. Tell
So
us.
what is that line? 14 jars of elderberry?
No, I don't know what. I should
trying
check
to
out the
figure out
lyrics.
what
Yeah?
that was.
Let me see if I can find the lyrics. While you tell us your
I
background.
really enjoyed that song. The one that got the most radio play always had the background guy. He would do the chorus, and then there'd be voices in the background, kind of mimicking his sound. Love that song. It's so pretty. I thought it was well put together. I would have liked to have that bass come out a little bit more in some parts of the song because it was a nice bass line if you guys were listening to it. The guitar does he play lead guitar? Is that what he plays?
Oh, yeah, he was during that transition period. He was the lead guitarist. He was there to replace a guitarist who had left.
Okay.
And so he was there. And but let me see. Where's it go here? Here's the lyrics.
He's got a soft side to him.
Oh, yeah, it's lovely. I'm rushing by.
It's like
all the things I
14
said. 14 joys and a will to be merry.
Oh.
And all of the things that we say are very, all I
I thought
need
he was
is you.
saying 14 jars of wild elderberry.
Oh, that's what he says. 14 joys and a will to be merry. Interesting. All the things that I said that I wanted come rushing by in my head when I'm with you. 14 joys and a will to be merry. And all the things that we
14
say are
joys.
very, all I need is you.
Why 14? 14
I don't know. That's
joys
interesting.
and a
I wonder why he picked that
will
as a
to be
lyric.
married.
But
it has meaning to him, obviously.
isn't that a gorgeous song? That is clearly his best signature, most beautiful song written.
It's a song I could see Bread doing. I mean, it would have been one of their faster upbeat songs.
just a
And
gorgeous-
anybody could have done that song and made it great. It's just that good.
But
of
again,
a song.
Bob Welch is one of those artists who you don't think about very often. When he comes to mind, you say, oh, yes, I remember Sentimental Lady and Ebony Eyes and some of the other stuff, and I know this about him, but I never followed him. And like I said, his career was kind of up and down. It had peaks and valleys, and it was just sprinkled with tragedy all through and of all kinds of personal
so sorry
issues.
to hear about
Very
his
sad, but
back surgery. Obviously, the pain he was enduring. Probably he wasn't able to use his hands and things.
To give up 3 months after surgery, say you're
when
never
Frank-
going to help
when
again.
Frank was telling me that, for example, Peter Frampton had come out with a cane, and I was reminiscing with Dave Mason when he came out. And man, he guy could barely walk, but boy, as soon as he sat down and started playing that guitar, we were both like, "What the heck?" So. And then Keith Emerson, remember, he couldn't play.
He killed
anymore.
himself too,
Yeah,
shot himself.
Couldn't play. And it's just so sad.
Peter Frampton, too, at the end of the show, he left a big mess. He stood up on the cane and he reached out telling him about his struggle. And he said, all you guys are out there fighting a battle. He was so encouraging, saying, keep fighting. I keep believing. For me, the operative word is kindness. And that's what Peter Frampton's message was to everybody trying to fight through. But not everybody wins the battle. Sometimes you lose them. And unfortunately, Bob Welch obviously was overwhelmed by the physical things that he thought would never allow him to be who he wanted to be anymore, and sadly took his life in 2012. But
So sorry.
left a beautiful, gentle, underappreciated legacy. And we wanted to just showcase them today because I really had thought about these songs and I said, I'd really love to share these.
Great job.
I sure hope you enjoyed them.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed what you heard and you have not, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing. Tell your friends about Nick and Knarf.
You ever see him in concert?
Care for you. Did anybody see
I got to ask you.
Or the Fleetwood Mac, that version of Fleetwood Mac back in the 71 to 74 era. Did you see him? But leave us your comments, your favorite Bob Welch songs, if you ever saw him. We'd love to have a dialogue with you. And God, we sure hope you enjoyed it. So we want to thank you again. On behalf of Nikki, I want to say thanks for joining us today on another episode of Nick and Knarf. Nick, what do you got to say?
Well, we love you guys, and we'll see you next time on another edition of Nick and Knarf.
Ciao, Bambini.
Signing off.
Peace out to all. Bye-bye.